What a sight to see on Sunday Night Football with the backdrop, lake effect snow, the Bills beating the San Francisco 49ers 35-10, and in the process capture their fifth straight AFC East title. I'm Kevin Carroll. Welcome to the Buffalo End Zone podcast, everyone.
And I'm Andy Young. Check out this place behind me right here. Pretty cool stuff. For all the talk about having a dome and the new stadium and fans shoveling snow out, it's a pretty cool scene, especially when the Bills go out there and play the way they did against the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, Andy, and across the country, I'm sure from what I've seen on social media, everyone loves watching a snow game. You know, the Thanksgiving holiday just passing us, families together playing football out in the backyard, and this is what everyone enjoys. Andy, in the Bills and the way they handled the weather, it made it look like backyard football at times, especially that guy Josh Allen, Andy, making another case for himself and taking another step forward in the conversation of who will be the MVP of the league when all is said and done this year. Allen, this is now a couple of weeks in a row, coming up huge when needed. And as players have said, you know, Josh Allen takes over a game, but no, he takes over most games, Andy.
Yeah, I want to get these stats right because they were so wild and they were coming so fast and furious throughout the game. The accomplishments of Josh Allen in his career, in this game in particular, that I was having trouble keeping track of them all. In this game, Josh Allen set the Bills' career total touchdowns record, passing Jim Kelly. He had a TD pass and a touchdown reception on the same play, tied an NFL record for the most games with at least 2 touchdown passes and a rushing touchdown in the same game, and became the 5th player and first QB since the merger in 1970, at least, with a touchdown pass, catch, and run in the same game. If that doesn't say NFL MVP, I don't know what does. We run out of superlatives for this guy, but every week he continues to amaze us with things he does, and it's different every time. And everybody's talking about the backyard football play. This is something that you draw up in the snow when you're playing in the backyard with your buddies when you're 13, 14 years old. You draw it in the snow. Hey, you go here, and I'll pitch it to you. And they didn't even plan this play. Amari Cooper catches a pass from Allen. He gets tied up and then, whoop, pitches it to Allen out of nowhere, who dives in for the touchdown. And that kind of just encapsulates the Josh Allen experience against the Chiefs. We saw that run for a touchdown, a signature play. This, another signature play in his case for MVP. Really incredible stuff.
Yeah, that play, super fun to watch when it happened. You know, you get that, oh, this is going to get out of control, to, okay, maybe he's not, to, oh my God, he's into me with a little Josh Allen over 1.5 touchdown passes in this game. He gets the pass to himself to get the over there. So thank you, DraftKings, for the $3 extra that I won on that play right there, Josh Allen. But again, Andy, just a fun atmosphere. Even that Josh Allen's run later, the pass to Mack Hollins, the huge 65-yard run by James Cook, not to mention Ray Davis's. It was just so much fun to watch. If you remove yourself from what we do on a day-to-day basis and just picture people across the country tuning into Sunday Night Football, and this is what they saw, and you're looking at Josh Allen in the center of all of this, the nation has to at this point be mostly behind Josh Allen for what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, this is no shade to Saquon Barkley, who's having an incredible year. Lamar Jackson's tailed off a little bit, but he's had an incredible year too, and actually was probably more deserving at certain points of the MVP than Allen, and the roles were reversed from last year. But Allen just keeps putting on these signature performances, these incredible plays, and you watch it, and you watch the snow, and you watch the fans throwing the snowballs and the snow confetti in the air after a touchdown, and Ray Davis doing his thing, James Cook, Allen doing what he has to do. It's really, really fun to watch. And it's the quintessential Orchard Park December 1st experience. We played in a few of these snow games lately over the last few years, and man, it's fun. The fans don't seem to mind when they get here and their seats are still packed in snow. The game day operations crew and the fans who volunteer do their best to get this place cleared, but it's not an easy feat. But to come in here and stand on frozen cold seats and benches and stand on cardboard boxes just so that your feet don't freeze, but you're watching a game like this and a team like this, it's got to be a blast. And for the people around the country, like you said, watching this performance, I don't know how you can't say that Josh Allen is putting together an MVP season if he ever has.
Talk about a couple of plays. So Josh Allen to Amari Cooper, back to Allen, in for the touchdown. MVP caliber play. Josh Allen, 4th and 2, runs the ball into the end zone against the Chiefs. MVP caliber play. Former Bills wide receiver Stevie Johnson and I were talking on the postgame show. Which is the bigger play? To me, the more exciting one was the one that happened against the 49ers. But the one where you're playing against Patrick Mahomes and you want to hand them their first loss of the year, the sexy play, Andy, is the one in the snow that we saw tonight. But I think when it comes to MVP and how important Josh Allen is, I still got to hand it to the game against the Chiefs where he ran that ball in on 4th and 2.
Yeah, and don't forget in the season opener where he hurdled a guy and dove into the end zone against the Cardinals and got hurt on that play. That's another signature play this season. He's had a few of those. And yeah, you know what? Sometimes the numbers he's not throwing for 50 touchdowns like we've seen in some years, but he's just doing incredible things and in different ways each and every week. And, I'm going to give it to the Kansas City game too, just because of what's at stake there and the rivalry and just the intense atmosphere. Because I think without that Josh Allen, Amari Cooper play, they probably still win that game against the San Francisco 49ers. Really cool play, and it's not something you see ever, basically. But what he did against the Chiefs was, to me, a different level because of the stakes in that game and the pressure. Because if he doesn't make that play, there's a good possibility the Chiefs are able to go down and kick a field goal or score a touchdown and try to win that game. So either way, you're splitting hairs here about what's the better play because they're both amazing.
Yeah, so now here you have it, the Bills AFC East champs. So they got a playoff spot locked up. Allen, after the game, saying that this allows them to kind of play a little more loose and a little more free. And maybe we get to see Joe Brady open up the offense a little bit more, Andy. I talked about this at the end of the post-game show about the fact that you have games in domes against NFC opponents. They got the Rams coming up. They got a huge game against the Lions, possibly a Super Bowl preview ahead in a couple of weeks. But at the same time, Allen kind of tempered it down a bit by saying, winning the AFC East was one goal. The next goal is getting the top seed in the AFC. So there's still work to be done, Andy. But I do think now we might see a little more exciting offense rather than Josh being a game manager and having to come up big when he's really needed to at times. And it might get really fun for this stretch here.
Yeah, that's hard to predict. I think it kind of depends on game script and situations. I don't know. They may try to open up the offense a little bit more, but they may say, hey, what we've been doing works really well. We're going to continue to pound the football, and we're going to, take some of the pressure off Allen and let him make those 2 or 3 big plays a game that are the Josh Allen MVP Superman kind of plays and not have to have him throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns because maybe they're not built that way and they don't need to win that way. We'll see. Being inside in domes and going to Los Angeles and maybe you're getting a shootout against Detroit because that's the kind of team they are because they seem to house everybody and put up points against everybody. Maybe you have to do that to win those games. I guess it all depends on what Sean McDermott, Joe Brady and company come up with and also what's left at stake in the season, right? Do they need to keep pace with the Chiefs? Do they, lose a game and stumble? How long are they in this race as far as winning the 1 seed? So, they're going to do everything they can, I think, to get that 1 seed if it's up to week 18 and they've still got that possibility. I think they'll try to do that.
Absolutely. A game like this in the snow, this is one of those games where you're going to say, the battle of the trenches was key in this one. And we'll give Josh Allen all the love he wants. But when you watch this game unfold, the Bills' offensive line really won the day, both in the ground game, which they were going to ground and pound in the snow, but when they needed to give Josh Allen time, it was there throughout this entire game. Brock Purdy at times was running around a little bit, trying to get out of situations where it seemed like Josh Allen had the time to make decisions and find other options when the first target wasn't there.
Yeah, shout out to those big guys up front because they did a pretty nice job in this game. It wasn't always perfect, but Spencer Brown said it wasn't easy. Deion Dawkins says it's not easy to play in those kind of conditions, but they did a nice job. James Cook had a heck of a game, and man, has he become just one of the best running backs in the NFL. And then Ray Davis, nice 1-2 punch there, and a 1-2-3 punch because Ty Johnson had a nice game too. So we talk about the Bills having different ways to win football games. Offensive line goes to work. Allen's given time to pass. Think about the touchdown pass to Mack Hollins. He sat there in that pocket, flat-footed, just stood there, waited, turned and threw to Mack Hollins. He had plenty of time there. So the O-line doing its job, running backs doing their job, and Josh finding the guys he needs to when he's got to make the play.
I'm looking at the passing stats here, and obviously not a ton of passes. Khalil Shakir, 4 catches, kind of shocks me. I thought I only saw him catch a couple of balls. But Dawson Knox, I thought, again, only 2 receptions in this game. But big fan of Dawson Knox, number 88, to come in there, and it looked to me like he was having fun out there in the snow.
Yeah, I mean, I think people, maybe I'm guilty of this too, wrote him off.
Yeah.
And because he hadn't done much. And I think that was just the way he was used, right? He's still capable of being an impact player. Is he, Tony Gonzalez or Antonio Gates or one of these guys out there? No, but people forget maybe too soon that he's been a very serviceable player, made some big plays for this team over the last 4, 5, 6 years. And he's still capable of doing that, especially we're seeing that now with Dalton Kincaid being out here the last few games. So, I mean, Dawson Knox is just a heck of a player. I mean, he does whatever's asked of him, whether that's being an inline blocking tight end when Kincaid's in there or going out in pass routes and making big plays down the field, which we've seen him do the last few weeks with Kincaid out. So, I mean, kudos to that guy. Kudos to Quentin Morris. He had some nice plays in this game. Zach Davidson getting involved again. So, I mean, they've got a wealth of talent here, and it goes back to that everybody eats thing. It doesn't matter who it is week in and week out. These guys don't care about the stats and who's having the biggest game. They just want to rack up the wins, and however that happens, whoever needs to step up, whoever's the hot hand or getting the ball makes the play at the moment, that's what they're all cool with. And it's a formula that's worked for the most part this season to the tune of 10 wins in 12 games.
Mack Hollins getting a lot of attention, Andy, pregame, because the big question was, and we had this question during the summer, you're going to walk around barefoot all the time. You're going to walk around barefoot when it's snowing out in Buffalo and you're heading into a game. He did it. He got the touchdown, Andy. That was his one reception. But one of my favorite things was watching a replay, and I don't know if you saw this up in the press box, Dawson Knox's first catch, you could see in the foreground of the catch, Mack Hollins like pointing at Dawson Knox, like yelling that he's open while he's running down the field. The dude is just so much fun on multiple levels that was a great jump ball catch he had. But that was just a riot to me that he was pointing to Dawson Knox while running his route.
Well, yeah, and the ball was in the air. And so he knew that Knox was open, and he's like, yeah, all right, here it goes. This is a big play. He saw the ball heading towards Dawson, and he turns and points. I mean, he's had a couple of plays like that this season where he's kind of a showman too, right? Like he knows, right? He puts it out there a little bit. He knows he's got the kooky personality, and he's a big bombastic guy, and he's into weird stuff, so to speak, and the no shoes and the no utensils. But he's kind of having fun out there. He's a leader. He's a special teams grinder. He's been a captain in other places. And, for the first part of the season, people kind of ragged on, Mack Hollins is your, second
Guilty.
option as your wide receiver, right? I mean, we all kind of did that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, but he's just fit in nicely on this team. He's got a certain role, and it seems like every couple of weeks he makes a big play. He doesn't make a ton of plays every game that you notice, but he does the little things, and then he makes one or two big plays, or he just has some fun out there, like in the middle of a route, pointing to Dawson Knox, like, all right, this is going to be a big play. We got this.
It just totally caught my. I literally
I saw the replay. I could see it. Yeah.
like you could sit there and you could say, "Oh, that made me laugh." Like I looked at that and I literally sitting at my desk was like, "What's this guy doing?"
He's a fun dude, man.
Yeah, with a little giggle there. 30 plus points, Andy, in 6 straight games for this Bills team, which is super impressive. It seems like scoring is down a lot in the NFL this year, but that's just another thing that the Bills are doing is just putting points up on the board, and they're getting help from the defense in that category as well, if not, a Taron Johnson pick 6, turnovers that lead to points.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the best, if not the best, in taking those turnovers and making them into points. The turnover point differential, points off turnovers, and the overall turnover differential is one of the best in the league. And just an opportunistic team. They keep making things happen, whether it's fumble recoveries, whether it's strip sacks, no matter what it is. The defense, you got to give the shout out here. A lot of people are going to rail on the run defense. We've talked about this quite a bit throughout the season. They kind of invite the big running plays. Like you saw some chunk plays from McCaffrey and Jordan Mason, but did it really result in anything? Not really. I mean, 10 points that the 49ers put on the board. They kind of invite that to happen. Yeah, you're going to get your chunk plays of 10, 15, 20 yards sometimes, as long as you're not giving up, the 80-yarders like they did with Derrick Henry. I think the Bills are okay with a little bit of that because they think that you're going to make a mistake eventually, or their defense is going to make a play, or you're just going to run out of steam on a long drive. So they're okay with you running down the field on chunk plays. No, do they want to? Would they love to have the number one rush defense in the NFL? Of course. I think I saw during the game a stat on CBS or on NBC that said they had the 3rd worst per average per carry rushing defense in the league. But here they are 10-2. It hasn't really mattered that much. So we always talk about run and stop the run. Well, the Bills don't stop the run very well, and it doesn't really seem to matter that much. The only game it really mattered in was the Baltimore game.
Yeah, and it seems more of a we'll operate this way between the 20s, but
Yep.
once you get down towards our 20 and the field's a bit tighter, we're going to start playing a little bit different, and you're going to have to settle for 3 and not 7.
Yeah, and it's the bend but don't break. It's classic. Now, what you want to see is that the bend but don't break approach works in the postseason when they're playing against the Chiefs or the Bengals or the Ravens, right? Is that going to work then against these high caliber teams in the playoffs? I mean, they've done it for the most part throughout this season. So, that's a critical juncture and a critical point to see if that philosophy works again, because, for all the talk about offense, a lot of times in the playoffs, it's been defensive failures or coaching failures that have led to their ruin. It hasn't been Josh Allen in the offense. So you got to see that step up. But, for the most part this season, they've done a good job.
With that being said, we do have to acknowledge that, even if we just look at last year, the Bills defense was so banged up by the time the playoffs came around.
Yep.
It's almost the reverse going on here, where they're getting healthier as the season goes on. And Matt Milano back on the football field playing in a regular season NFL game finally.
Yeah, came through with 5 tackles. Sean McDermott said that he probably played a little bit more than they wanted him to, because they were going to have him mostly in 1st and 2nd down situations, take him off the field on 3rd down, as they ramped him back up to playing for the first time in really over a year, right? Since week 5 of 2023, had the leg injury and then came back and tore his biceps during practice in the preseason. And it's been a long time since he's been on the football field. But the way the game went, there weren't a whole lot of 3rd downs because San Francisco was running the ball pretty well early on. But McDermott said it was good to see him back out there. The fans erupted when Matt Milano was announced during pregame introductions, and just good to have him back on the field, an all-pro caliber player. And then you pair that with Terrell Bernard, who's been fantastic this season, and then Dorian Williams, who's that depth piece or that third linebacker you can count on if you need to go to a heavy set with 4-3 or to give Milano a break, or if one of those guys gets banged up again, you can count on Dorian Williams too. So that's a good problem to have. Milano is going to get warmed up here, and we'll see, how much of an impact he can make over the next few weeks, the home stretch and into the playoffs.
All right, how much of an impact did Christian McCaffrey leaving this game actually play into the final? Because McCaffrey looked good early and was basically just running right through the Bills. But, Andy, I go back to what we were just talking about a few minutes ago. Even when McCaffrey was out there, they had to settle for a field goal. So, ultimately, I don't think, his injury, while it stinks for him and the 49ers, I don't think it played a huge role in the final outcome.
No, I mean, it might have played some role, a small, insignificant factor. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is a great player. He's been really banged up this season, obviously. He was running roughshod through the Bills' defense, and it took a little bit of the wind out of their sails, I think, the 49ers, when he went out of the game. Does it change the ultimate outcome? No. Jordan Mason's a serviceable player and has been having a good season for them and had a nice day today overall as well. But, I mean, you look at the end of the day, okay, so they're running the football. Does it change too much with McCaffrey in there? I don't know. I mean, it might have played a small role, but I don't think it was a huge factor in what this game turned out to be.
How about the weather? You got a West Coast team coming out from California. The time difference for them, I mean, this is a night game, so I don't think the time played that big of a role. But, I mean, it's the NFL, you're going to have to play in the elements somewhere. I mean, out in San Fran, it gets cold and rainy and stuff like that. Big favor for the Bills in this one, or a big help to the Bills, or do you think the Bills just handled the night better overall and the snow was just part of the story?
I think it's part of the story for the most part. I think the Bills are comfortable in this scenario. I don't think it was a huge factor because both teams are slipping and sliding. I think the Bills just kind of have an air of confidence in these conditions because they played in them so many times over the last few years. We've seen some more snow games of late. I don't think it was a huge thing, but I think they are well equipped in the way they can play to win some of these games, maybe more so than in past years. I know, one of our media colleagues, Jay Skursky from the Buffalo News, was asking several of the players in the locker room after the game, is this team better equipped maybe than years past to handle games like this? The cold weather, the snow, the wind, and the blowing, because the offensive line's playing so well, because the run game is more involved, because they don't have to just rely on the passing game. And some of the guys said, yeah, we're just comfortable in this spot. Both teams have to deal with it, but, we feel pretty good about our chances in that regard. So maybe they are a little bit more well-equipped. It's hard to say because both teams, again, do have to play with it, but they are a little bit more used to it, especially these veteran guys who've played here for quite a while.
And now Sean McDermott, Andy, remains perfect coming off the bye week since he arrived, and no letdown after a giant emotional win over the Chiefs and then some time off, and then the holiday, and then Josh Allen gets engaged, and everyone won't stop talking about that. I have people saying, oh, Josh Allen got engaged, he's going to be off on Sunday. Come on now. These are NFL players. This is what they do for a living. But, the body of work since Sean McDermott has arrived, and I think he was talking about it during the post-game presser that, from people outside the area, they look at games like this. Do players want to go to Buffalo and have to deal with this kind of weather for a few games every year at the end of the season? And McDermott has built such a good program that, yeah, I don't care about the weather. I want to come and play in games like that and win, division titles and whatnot.
And that's what's funny about the Bills trying to get the 1 seed. Sean McDermott is a very prepared coach. So if he has a couple of weeks to prepare for an opponent like he does, what is it, 8-0 now off the bye week?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So think about if they make the playoffs and, well, they're in the playoffs, but get the 1 seed and then have extra time to get ready for those next opponents. I mean, that could be a boon there. I mean, we see what he's done off buys in the regular season and the preparedness that he has and the attention to detail in those situations. Maybe that's another helpful hint of what could be should the Bills somehow surpass the Chiefs and get the number 1 overall seed going to the playoffs. We'll see.
And that's the thing. I know we've talked about this before, but now here we are, the Bills winning the AFC East again. There is a path for the Bills to get that 1 seed. I mean, they have the Rams, they have the Lions, they have the Patriots twice, and they have the Jets. That's just, the Jets are just a disaster. And
I didn't see that coming, honestly.
The Chiefs win another game on Friday on such a fluke ending. And it's like the Bills are the only team so far able to capitalize on how down the Chiefs are, that they just need help from some other teams. Just beat them. It doesn't seem that hard, but it is.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs, man, they just find a way. I don't know if it's luck or if it's we've been there, done that, we're tested, whatever it is, somehow. Or teams wilting. Is it like the Tiger Woods effect,
right,
where he's leading in a major and then other players just kind of wilt around him because he's just so good and they can't deal with it? I don't know. Like, all it takes is one more. The Bills, I don't want to dismiss the Rams. That could be a tough game. The Rams are no slouches. They're 6-6. They're sometimes up, sometimes down. We'll see. And then Detroit, obviously, it's probably the best team in the NFL right now.
Right.
Philadelphia's making a case too. The Bills, obviously, KC, Baltimore is kind of slipping a little bit. The Steelers, the Vikings. I mean, there's a host of teams, but that's going to be a tough game against Detroit. But yeah, I mean, Kansas City, they seem ripe to slip up again. And they've got some tough games coming up as well. So just keep playing if you're the Bills, right? And see what happens. I mean, you go in and you win these next couple of games, you're right there. You think you got a good shot at it.
Chiefs have the Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, Broncos. Those games, when we talked earlier in the season, seemed less interesting than they really do now, at least when it comes to the Steelers and the Texans.
Are the Steelers and the Chiefs kind of like similar in the way that they just somehow grind out wins? Like that just seems how it is, man. Like, for whatever reason this season, both of those teams kind of just figure out a way to win in the end of the game, except for the Chiefs and the Bills case.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, what the Steelers are doing. It still blows my mind. The Texans, they kind of struggled with the Jags at times. The Broncos gave the Chiefs a run for their money, another team that probably should. So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be fun, Andy.
Hey, this is what we're all here for, man. This is the fun stuff, right? Like, let's see where this thing goes. They're right there. All of it's right in front of them. Let's see if they can do it.
And it's like you said, if the 1 seed is up for grabs still at the end of the season, you see Josh Allen and the starters go into Foxborough and maybe grab the number 1 seed by beating the Patriots and like the Broncos upsetting the Chiefs. So interesting stretch run here, Andy, as we head down it with the Bills now at 10-2 on the season, a trip to LA coming up next week. Anything else to add? It's early in the morning.
Game ball.
Oh,
Josh Allen. Yeah.
Game ball, Josh Allen, and on defense, Gregory Rousseau.
I want to shout out Taylor Rapp.
I almost shouted out Taylor Rapp.
Yeah, man. Like, he's just having a great year. He really is. I mean, there was some concern about whether he would be able to step into the role with Jordan Poyer gone and Micah Hyde gone. He's just been steady. He's made big plays. He's made big hits. He's really having a fantastic, underrated kind of year. And I think he deserves some praise for the type of play he's having. So does DeMar Hamlin. Both of those guys have played really well. I thought DeMar Hamlin was robbed on that interception that was called back because of illegal contact. George Kittle ran into him, like stumbled into him, and falls to the ground, and then DeMar goes and makes the play. So, I mean, Hamlin and Rapp, two safeties. There was a lot of question marks there. They've done pretty darn well this season.
Absolutely. Okay, you convinced me. I was going to go Taylor Rapp, but Greg Rousseau's sack kind of stood out to me in the fact that they were all up in Purdy's face throughout the afternoon. So either way, we both agreed Josh Allen was once again the MVP of the game.
I mean, what else? He's the MVP of the league, so
right.
I'm sure he's MVP of this game, right?
Absolutely. All right. So you got the Bills, Rams. Bills heading out west coming up. And this week, Andy and I will be back with you in the middle of the week to get you ready for that game as the Bills look to pick up their 11th win of the season. For Andy Young, I'm Kevin Carroll. As always, thanks for joining us.